You, as a man, are biologically predisposed already for polygyny. Polygyny is not a right. So it's my right for polygyny. Listen, no. This privileged, entitled mindset to think that you have a right to a wife, this is another human being, has feelings, emotions, all kinds of things as a human, right? So no, polygyny is not a right.
Warning, viewer discretion is advised. The content, views, and educational material you are about to experience could challenge your belief, trigger strong emotions, and frankly, piss you off. This isn't for everyone. If you're not ready to confront new ideas, or if your feelings bruise easily, this might be the time to click away. Expect to be challenged, to think, and you might even want to scream at the screen. Proceed with caution, and remember, you chose to be here. Let's get it.
Assalamu alaikum, peace. Coach Nazir, one of the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as one of the authors of the book, Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored, that my wives and I wrote because I practice polygamy and we were very short in resources. Now, I just want to posit something with you right now. That's the idea that when a man is getting married into monogamy, that he must first express his desire for polygyny. Now, here's where that can be problematic. First of all, if a man has never been married before and does not know whether or not he desires polygyny or wants to have it outside of just his biological nature, then how would he really know? This is what I mean. I initially got married the first time when I was 19 years old. Yep, teenager, right? I didn't know anything about polygyny. Now, there are certain areas of the US, for example, that tend to have plenty of examples and people have been practicing for a long time. I don't want to specifically name any cities, but there's a city that's really well known that rhymes with something like Hilly, for example, or there's Blue Fork, right? So there are places where people see it all the time. I'm from the Midwest, right outside of Chicago in Milwaukee, right? So, or Jim Crow North, if you will. And not many people practice polygyny. I didn't know anyone practiced polygyny, especially after I had first accepted Islam. So there was no idea other than thinking, oh, polygyny or polygamy is something from way back in the day. Nobody really practices that anymore. And I wanted to go ahead and change my life and my family. So therefore, when I initially got married, I wasn't like, yes, I intend to practice polygyny in the future. I knew it. No, I didn't. Now, and I also want you to think of it like this as well. I was recently on a podcast, a dope Muslim woman podcast. Matter of fact, link is in the description. And we had a great conversation. I would advise you to check it out and hear some different perspectives. She's a dope Muslim woman. She has a dope podcast, right? So check it out. With that being said, though, the idea that I'm simply just speaking to you about polygyny from the perspective of a man who is practicing polygyny. Let me just slow it down a little bit. See, I've been married now in polygyny for over 15 years. All right. I didn't start practicing polygyny until I was already in monogamy for 15 years. Yeah, I've been married over 30 years now, right? So with that being said, have experience on both sides of the aisle, if you will. But with that, I'm not just speaking to you as a brother. I'm speaking to you also as a father. Because from my marriages, I have 10 biological children. Have my daughters first, followed by my sons. So 2 of my daughters are married. I'm still responsible to help find suitors for 3 more, which is not easy. 2 of them are monogamy, the others are open to polygyny. It is very difficult, first of all, to find somebody qualified. Then, of course, at that level with polygyny, I don't know where this myth comes from that, your husband must provide for you like your father provided for you or where you come from. In what world does that even make any sense? Like, why would I, for example, expect a youngin' in his 20s to go ahead and have the ability to provide for my daughters like I provide for my daughters, which took me time to really build and get? Doesn't really make much sense. You know what I'm saying? Not somebody around their age, if you will, which is what they want to marry. So anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But when I say I'm talking to you as a father, I'm talking to you as a father because I also have sons. They haven't been in any relationships. They have no idea what it entails. They have no idea what they're going to experience, and who they're going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, should they be blessed enough to live that long. They have no idea. So how are they going to come to the table saying, I know I want to practice polygyny, let me go ahead and put that out there. Versus what I encourage people to say, and if you don't know, if you aren't sure, is that one, you don't know, maybe, but you're not going to close the door that Allah Ta'ala has opened for you. I think it was Muhammad Ali who said it, and I might be paraphrasing or saying it wrong, but I think you'll get the point. If a man thinks the same way at 50 when he was at 20, he just wasted 30 years of his life. I'm not the same person. And if you are somebody who can say, you know what, with the knowledge I have now, I go back and tell my younger self something, then that means you've grown, you've evolved, you've changed. You would have likely done something different in the past to have a better present. But that's not how life works. The lessons happen and we could look back on it and see clearly, which goes into the saying, hindsight is 20/20. Why is that important? It's important because understanding human dynamics, feelings, love, relationships, all of these things, we'll have to figure out while in it. So expecting someone to have it all together, know what they're going to desire and want and like and all that kind of stuff in the future, as though we have the ability to fortune tell, to know the future, is foolish and is silly. But if you already know, and you come from somewhere, for example, that might rhyme with hilly or blue fork, and it's very common in your daddy, your grandfather, your uncle, everybody practice it, it's pretty common. Now, I absolutely hope and pray all of my children are righteous. And I pray that my sons practice polygyny and max out with 4 wives each and give me a whole bunch of righteous grandbabies. That's my desire for them, okay? Because it will require them to be a very special, unique, exceptional type of man to be able to do it and do it well. You're already on our channel, and you see how we are empowering people when it comes to polygamy education. You may be wondering, what's the next step? Especially knowing that we are the authors of the book,
Let's Talk Polygamy Uncensored. If you want to get off the emotional roller coaster, whether it's jealousy, insecurity, frustration, anger, maybe even guilt in some cases, you're going to want to pick up this book.
Definitely wish I would have had this book back a while ago when we first embarked on polygyny. And you will learn a lot of things about minding your marriage and what that actually means. So you're not comparing your marriage to your co-wives or anybody else's for that matter.
If you've heard, I'm not against polygamy, I just against when it's not done right, you want to learn how to do it right, this will teach you how to be more than twice the man you need to be to get it done. Let's talk polygamy.com. We look forward to shipping yours off to you.
Extremely important. And since we didn't have the resources, my wives and I didn't have the resources, it took 5, 6 or so years to really just get to a satisfactory level. We decided we could either stay and just do what most successful polygynist families do, and that's just keep quiet and live your life. Or we could choose to do better and benefit more people, get more barakah, get more blessings by working to empower other people, by reverse engineering and putting things out there and taking the shots and whatever's gonna happen. That's fine. We opted for the latter. Hence now we write the books and have courses and do coaching and so on and so forth, right? At outstandingpersonalrelationships.com. And we have this channel and we work with people, and that's relatively challenging because I'm an introvert. Though I learned how to speak and whatnot and be in leadership positions and roles, that's my responsibility to grow, to go ahead and plant, cultivate, and reap the harvest. Whether that's in business, whether it's with your family, whatever area that may be. So I wanted to address that because it's important. To expect a man to know what he's going to want and desire in the future is pretty foolish. Now, I would posit to say, listen, you as a man are biologically predisposed already for polygyny. So have the discussion, look internally. If you do not desire it, or most men don't desire, just to tell the truth, they don't not desire because they don't want to practice it. They don't desire the responsibility that comes along with it. All right, so we are pro-morals, whether that's dealing with monogamy or polygyny. The fact that we speak and teach more about polygyny is because there's so little education, and our religious leaders in particular have failed us when it comes to it. They talk about it as though it's an afterthought. They don't talk from the classical books about it. They talk about it as though we're just incapable and incompetent of actually practicing it, generally speaking. Now, I'm of the belief that the men today have been emasculated, are extremely weak. And if you know anything about men, the thing that we desire the most is women. And Allah Ta'ala lets you know that we are created for the love of women, sons, gold, etc., all through the rest of the ayat. That's how we're designed. Now, what do women desire? Everything else. But we desire women. That's our thing, if you will, right? With that being said, Islam came to restrict and regulate what it come for that purpose, but it's the only scripture that actually restricted and regulated polygyny to 4 wives, max. And many ulama, many scholars say that the asl, or the foundation, is 2, because Allah Ta'ala starts with marry 2, 3, or 4. And the exception, not the rule, but the exception being 1. If you fear you cannot be just or fair with them, then 1. And for the Muslims who like to quote this, I need to correct you right now, because this exposes your ignorance. And I was one of those as well, because I heard this and I repeated it until the Mujtahid said, no, this, first of all, it's not in the Quran. So when they say 1 is best if you but knew, stop saying that. That is untrue. It is the clear lie on Allah Ta'ala. That is not even in any translation. Just if you fear you cannot do justice or have fairness with them, then 1. Period. Then it goes on to talk about, and if that's not even an option, then of course you have concubines and whatnot. But it does not say 1 is best if you but knew. So stop that foolishness. We submit wholeheartedly to the rules and regulations of Islam as practicing Muslims. And yes, we work with Muslims and we also work with non-Muslims as well. So with all of that being said, just know that when you put a demand on a man who's coming into a marriage who doesn't have experience, doesn't have this serial monogamous thing, or hasn't been with women, he doesn't know what he's going to do or what he wants. So having an expectation sounds foolish, because life is a lot more nuanced than we give it the opportunity to be. And as a man, even my son-in-laws, let them know this is not the best condition to come in where you capitulate to something that could be in your nikah contract, that women could absolutely put in their nikah contract. They can't put in there that you cannot marry, again, or practice polygyny, because no one can forbid something that Allah allows. But they can put conditions in there where you must notify them first and so on, and have discussions first, or agree to these things prior to, or she can go ahead and nullify a contract and have more power when it comes to that end. That's absolutely true and correct. And they can enforce that. But I let men know, generally speaking, you shouldn't come in like that, especially if you don't know what the future is going to entail. And which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? With that being said, also, one more thing. Polygyny is not a right. So that it's my right for polygyny. Listen, no. This privileged, entitled mindset to think that you have a right to a wife, this is another human being. Has feelings, emotions, all kinds of things as a human, right? So no, polygyny is not a right. But for those men who are exceptional, those who do raise their frame, those are the ones that should be practicing it. And again, I'm Coach Nazir, right? So I help high-performing men install governance systems and protocols so they can practice polygyny in a healthy way with clarity, confidence, and courage, so that they don't have to experience the chaos, the confusion of the courtrooms that can follow when it's not done right, and then put their families' fortunes or their futures in jeopardy. Now, what does that mean? You can go to polygamybooks.com. So if you want to go ahead and get your frame up and increase and know what that actually means, I have a frame playbook. If you're in a process and need to know how to vet properly and accurately, got the polygamy vetting playbook. Or you just need to have that conversation that you need to walk through the fire with to talk to your wife about polygyny, which she could initiate the discussion as well, but then we have the forbidden conversation playbook. And why do they have to put these together? Again, because unfortunately, our religious leaders are failing us. And if you're pro-morals, you need to know how to operate in a moral fashion, because many choose the immoral route. And I'm not here with the girlfriends, the concubines, the one-night stands, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And I'm likely sure that you aren't here either. Our content, my wife's and our content, doesn't attract that type of crowd, because it's about accountability and responsibility and really being legacy focused. With that being said, Remember, wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. Be outstanding. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.